Help me reach 10,000 subscribers by sharing this video with someone who needs to hear this today. It would truly mean a lot, and it helps this message reach more men who may benefit from reflecting on it. There comes a stage in many men's lives when everything finally becomes quiet. The early mornings, the long work routines, the constant pressure to build, achieve, and prove yourself slowly begin to lose their grip. Life no longer feels like a race that demands constant urgency. Children grow up, leave home, and begin their own journeys. The household that once felt busy and full of noise becomes calm. The heavy responsibility that once sat on a man's shoulders, having to succeed, provide, and meet expectations, gradually eases into something softer and more manageable. For the first time in decades, a man may wake up and ask a question he never had space to consider before. What do I actually want from my day? Not what others expect, not what responsibilities demand, but what he, as an individual who has already carried life's burdens, genuinely desires. This sense of freedom is something many people never experience earlier in life. Yet this is also the moment where something unexpected often happens. When peace finally arrives, many men step into a new emotional chapter. They meet someone new. There is connection, laughter, attention, and the feeling of being understood again. It feels refreshing, almost like a second chance at companionship. Very quickly, the idea of remarrying begins to feel natural. Friends encourage it, family members support it, society even celebrates it. Stories about finding love later in life are often seen as inspiring and beautiful. A man finds love again, and everyone applauds the idea. But almost no one pauses to ask a deeper question. Few people sit him down and ask whether entering marriage at 60, 65, or 70 truly carries the same meaning it did decades earlier. Whether the structure that once symbolized security might now introduce complexity instead. This conversation is rarely had. And because of that silence, many men walk into decisions without fully understanding what may follow. One of the first realities that surprises many men is not emotional, it is financial. By this stage of life, most men have spent decades building something stable: a home, savings, retirement funds, investments, or long-term financial plans. These things represent years of discipline, sacrifice, and careful decisions. But marriage is not only emotional, it is also a legal and financial union. Once entered, it can significantly reshape ownership, inheritance planning, and long-term financial structure. What once felt secure can become shared in ways that are not always simple to reverse if problems arise later. Lawyers and financial advisors have seen this pattern many times. A man enters remarriage focused on companionship and happiness, but later discovers that separation or disagreement can become complicated, expensive, and emotionally draining. The issue is not love itself. The issue is that these discussions rarely happen when emotions are at their highest and judgment is least cautious. Avoiding difficult conversations early often creates far more difficulty later. But finances are only part of the picture. Another major shift comes in daily life and personal freedom. After years of living for work, family, and responsibility, many men rediscover the value of independence. Simple freedom, choosing how to spend a day without negotiation or compromise, becomes deeply meaningful. The ability to travel, rest, eat, or structure life exactly as desired becomes something they quietly cherish. When two people come together later in life, especially after decades of forming independent routines, merging lifestyles is not always simple. Small habits become points of tension. Different preferences about daily routines, spending, household organization, or leisure time can gradually create friction. Neither person is at fault. It is simply the reality of two complete lives trying to coexist under one structure. Over time, what begins as companionship can slowly become a series of compromises that reduce the very freedom a man worked so hard to achieve. There is also the family layer, which is often underestimated. A new marriage later in life does not involve only two people. It brings together entire family histories. Adult children, grandchildren, and extended relatives all become indirectly affected. Even when everyone wants harmony, emotions can become complicated. Adult children may worry about inheritance, stability, or whether family dynamics will shift. A new partner may feel like an outsider in an already established system. Even if nothing is openly said, subtle tension can appear. Conversations change. Gatherings feel different. A sense of caution replaces ease. When both partners bring their own families into the relationship, the complexity increases even further. What seems like a simple personal decision actually affects many interconnected lives. Health is another reality that becomes more important with age. At younger stages of life, couples often grow together while being physically strong and independent. But later in life, health becomes unpredictable. Illness, dependency, and care responsibilities can emerge unexpectedly. In such situations, one partner may gradually take on the role of caregiver. While this can be meaningful and loving, it is also a serious responsibility that changes daily life in ways many do not anticipate when entering the relationship. A man who imagined peaceful companionship may later find himself managing appointments, medication, and emotional stress related to health challenges, something he may not have fully prepared for. None of this is meant to discourage love. Love remains one of the most meaningful experiences in life at any age, but it is important to separate emotional desire from practical reality. At this stage of life, many men are not truly searching for marriage itself. What they are often seeking is peace, emotional calm, stability, and freedom from pressure or loneliness. The mistake is assuming that marriage is the only path to that peace. Loneliness is real, but it is not solved only through legal or romantic commitment. It can also be eased through friendships, community, family relationships, hobbies, travel, and meaningful daily engagement with life. A fulfilling life does not require a formal contract to feel complete. The most satisfied men at this stage are often those who first built a life they genuinely enjoyed on their own terms. They did not rush to be completed by someone else. Instead, they became emotionally steady first, and then allowed relationships to exist as an addition, not a replacement for stability. From that place, relationships tend to be healthier. They are chosen freely, not out of fear of loneliness or emotional pressure. There are certainly men who remarry later in life and find great happiness. That is absolutely true. But those outcomes usually come from careful thinking, honest conversations, and realistic expectations. They take time before committing. They discuss difficult topics early. They protect their children, finances, and personal boundaries. Most importantly, they enter the relationship because it genuinely improves their life, not because they are trying to escape emptiness. The final question every man should ask himself is simple but powerful. Does this relationship add genuine value to the life I have already built, or am I hoping it will fix something within me that I have not yet addressed? That question requires honesty without illusion, and the answer should come not from emotion in the moment, but from reflection built over a lifetime of experience. The purpose of this message is not to discourage love. Love is real, meaningful, and valuable at any age. The purpose is to remind that love does not need a legal structure to be real. It can exist without contracts, without merging every part of life, and without sacrificing the independence that took decades to build. Sometimes the most honest form of love is choosing connection freely, while still preserving the peace and identity you worked your whole life to create. Take your time, think clearly, trust what experience has taught you, and if this message gave you something to reflect on, share it with someone who might be keyed to hear it.